My dad taught me chess since I was little. After a few years, I got better at chess to the point where I was better than my dad. My parents were proud of me and they decided to enroll me in a chess group. I was happy myself till I saw that there were only boys and only one girl in the whole group, and I was the second girl there. I felt really uncomfortable, but the male coach was really kind. After a week, there was an upcoming tournament in another city. My coach called me and asked if I wanted to join. He said that we'll be sleeping the night in the hotel and that I wasn't the only one coming. Of course I agreed. I was really excited to go to my first tournament. So my mother helped me pack and the coach arrived. I stepped into the car and he started driving. I noticed that he brought his overprotective dog. The dog was sitting in the back seat. I asked why there were no one except me and him and his dog in the car. He said that I was the first one to pick up since I was the nearest. We've been driving for about half hour and I asked again why we didn't pick anyone up. And then he said the only other girl wasn't coming and the other boys were not coming either. I felt anxious. He noticed and said that at least we could explore the city, get some rest in the hotel in the evening and go to the tournament the next day. I liked to explore, so I was very excited. But when we arrived at the hotel to put our stuff down, I noticed there was only one bed in the room. I thought I was sleeping on the sofa, so I brushed it off and headed out. The rest of the day, we were going to beautiful parts of the city and just having fun. When we went back to the hotel, I got dressed in my pajamas and laid down on the sofa. He asked me what I was doing and said that I will be sleeping on the bed with him. When he said that, I really felt uncomfortable knowing that I was gonna sleep in the same bed as a mid-30 man. So I just told him that I'm okay with sleeping on the sofa, but he kept insisting, so I agreed. I laid on my side of the bed, and when he came back after turning all the lights off, he laid down onto the bed and came to my side of the bed and hugged me, holding tightly around my waist. I felt tears forming on my eyes, but he just kept touching my waist till he started going up and down. Tears kept rolling down my face. I never felt so scared in my whole life. He kept doing it for about 1 hour. When he thought that I was asleep and tried to put my pajamas off, it was a two-piece pajama, so he started from down the waist. I knew I had to do something, so I moved a little and he immediately moved his hands away from my hips and moved to the opposite side of the bed. I couldn't sleep for the rest of the night, but he came back and hugged me and fell asleep himself while hugging me. I had thoughts of getting up and running to the door and going to the receptionist lady to tell her everything, but I felt so weak, so afraid. In the morning, I woke up about 7 a.m. He was still sleeping when I got out of bed. I was almost halfway to my suitcase where all of my things were at when his dog ran up to my suitcase and started growling. I was confused why he was acting like that when I realized that his pants were on my suitcase and his overprotective dog thought that I was going to steal his pants. My phone was sitting on the counter, so I grabbed it and just started playing games until he woke up. He asked me why I was up so early, and I realized that he thought that I was sleeping all night and he didn't know that I knew that he had done what he did. So I acted like nothing happened last night and told him that I needed to use the bathroom, so I woke up. He believed and we gathered the stuff, thanked the receptionist lady, and went to his car to drive to the tournament. Now, I felt really uncomfortable knowing his true self. We arrived at the church where the tournament was happening. Now, I wasn't excited anymore. All I wanted was just to be back home, with the people I love. I noticed it was somehow different from when he told me. He was confused, or at least acted confused. So he ran to the organizer while I watched the others play chess. He took a picture with the organizer and came back to me, telling that he read the calendar wrong. I felt so... how can I say this? I felt so used, so betrayed, so angry, and so weak. He told me that he'd drive me back home, and we just sat in his car and his dog in the back seat. I hated that dog more than anything, knowing that that dog ruined my plan to finally escape. This creep. So we just drove and drove. I put my headphones on, showing him that I wasn't interested in a conversation. But he still talked and talked. We were back in the city. I immediately told him to drop me off on the sidewalk, and he started asking questions. Why? So I just told him that it would be a good walk back home to get some fresh air. He tried insisting, but this time I wasn't going to make that stupid mistake. He dropped me off and drove off after saying that we can go to the next upcoming tournament, and I just said that I'd love that. After his car was out of sight, I started tearing up while walking back home. It was a long way back home, but it would be a good time to think what to do. When I got back home, I ran to my mom first things first and told her from the beginning to the end. She was absolutely disgusted, and the next day called him to say that I was no longer going to be part of the group. Till this day, when my mother isn't home, I practice fighting in my room. I still see him walking around the city, giving me a friendly wave. But I'm not afraid to give him the middle finger back.